Today, I'm going to be going through a huge pile of resources that I've found to use in studying India and that region. So, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, sort of that area. So, South Asia. And I just wanted to share the resources that I have found with you in case you are studying that at some point. I have a collection of picture books that you could read to your children or just put in a morning basket. I have some read alouds that I will be reading to my children, as well as some informational books and the readers that I'm going to be having my children choose their readers out of. My kids are ages 11, 12, and 15 this year. They are in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And I do have a range of reading abilities within there. So when I get to the readers, I will also let you know sort of the Lexile reading age of each of the books, as well as the suggested reading level for these books. So you will have a good idea of the reading level of each book and if it may or may not be appropriate for your own child. So I hope you stick around and see what fun books I picked up for this region. I am pretty excited about the collection I have here. I had a lot of readers for my kids to pick from, and I can also share what they decided to read as well as I go along, because they already picked out their readers from the collection that I presented to them. If you haven't been following me for too long, you will not know that we are doing geography of the Eastern Hemisphere this year with my kids, and it will probably continue next year. So far, I have put up videos about books about Russia and surrounding, I would say Russia and surrounding countries, sort of in the, like towards, not European, but kind of headed down towards the Middle East. And then I did some books on the Middle East. So that is the area that we were studying last. And now we're moving into South Asia. And so that's India and the surrounding countries there. I will link my videos to the other resources that I have found for Russia and the Middle East below. So if you're interested in those, you can check that out as well. So let's just get started. I'm just wanting to show this here. I picked this up at the library. It's PBS India, Nature's Wonderland. Just a reminder, don't forget to check your library when you're doing something like this. A lot of these books are from my library. I also did a lot of research in picking some of these picture books and the readers, especially the readers, because those are books that my kids are going to be reading on their own. So I definitely wanted to make sure that they would be appropriate. So I did do a lot of research on the readers. The picture books, I did do some research. I definitely recommend you always pre-read everything before you hand things to your children. But just a reminder, check your library. I usually place something like this in our van. I will just put it in our van, and then whenever we're going anywhere, we might be working our way through this. So I think the kids will really enjoy this. So that is a two-hour thing. So it'll take some time to get through. But stuff like this is always fun when you're studying a country to add in the animals of the country. So the first book I have here is Gefarama Market Day in India. So it says, it's market day in town. I see treasures everywhere. Orange marigolds, pink sweets, and even green peacock feathers. Which gift is as special as my ama? Okay, so I'm guessing that's either her mom or her grandmother. She is looking for a gift. Oh, and here is something about markets around the world in the back there. All right, we have how to wear a sari. And this says, are you tired of being called too small? Ready to prove that you are officially a big kid now? Here's your chance. With this charming how-to guide on wearing a colorful, twinkly, silky sari, enlist the help of your furry friend, and together you'll be on your way to show those silly adults that you know exactly what you're doing. They'll be begging for tips. This delightful story is sure to capture any child's obsession with growing up, dressing up, and learning new things, even if it means making a couple of mistakes along the way. So she is trying to figure out how to put on a sari. So that looks pretty cute. So this one is, a lot of these are based on a true story. So the next one, it is 111 Trees, How One Village Celebrates the Birth of Every Girl. And I did flip through this, and basically there was a boy who grew up in the area, and he just wondered why boys were celebrated. It says how the birth of a boy is celebrated with music and food, while the birth of a girl is met with silence. And then when he grows up and he becomes like, let's see, he becomes a father, and then he also is elected to the head of his village. And then he has daughters and he wants to honor girls when they're born. So he says that he is going to plant 111 trees every time there is a girl born in the village, as long as her parents will send her to school. And what happened as a result was they were running out of water and they had to walk long distances. But over time, with the planting of all these trees for all the girls who were born, then they found that they had a lot of vegetation and the water source came closer and closer, and they had just different kinds of trees, and it just became a real blessing to have these trees, and just showing that girls are a blessing and kind of changing some of the traditions maybe that have been held in that area for some time. So that was really cool. So that's 111 trees. The next one is Grandmother School, also based on a true story. It says, my grandmother is kind and caring. She's a great storyteller. She's also a student just like me. Every morning I walk her to the school that was built for grandmothers in our village. Based on a true story from the village of Hengyang, India, this brilliantly illustrated book tells the story of the grandmothers who go to school for the first time in their lives. We have Faja Singh Keeps Going, the true story of the oldest person to ever run a marathon. So Faja Singh was born determined. He was also born with legs that wouldn't allow him to play cricket with his friends or carry him to school miles from his village in Punjab. But that didn't stop him. Working on his family farm, Faja grew to meet his own full potential. He never stopped striving. At the age of 81, after a lifetime of making his body, mind, and heart stronger, Faja decided to run his first marathon. He went on to break records all around the world and became the first person over 100 to complete the grueling long-distance race. The true story of Faja Singh reminds us that it's both where we start and how we finish that makes our journeys unforgettable. We have Desert Girl and Monsoon Boy. So one girl, one boy, two journeys, one world. While she turns her shoulder to sandstorms and blistering winds, he cuffs his pants when heavy rains begin to fall. As the weather becomes more severe, their families and animals must flee to safety, and their destination shows that they might be more alike than they seem. The journeys of these two children experiencing weather extremes in India highlight the power of nature and the resilience of the human spirit. So basically showing that India has a vast weather system between the monsoons and the desert, and each page shows what the girl is doing and what the boy is doing in the different areas. Okay, Rock by Rock, the fantastical garden of Nek Chand, also a true story. So Nek Chand was just one of many in the busy city of Chandigarh, India, but he was different from his neighbors. Why was he picking broken bangles off the streets? What did he want with all those tires that the factory threw out? Where could he possibly be going with all those rocks? Nek was going to a hidden place in the jungle, a place he created, rock by rock, cast off cloth by broken bangle, a place unlike anything anyone has ever seen, full of laughing men, women in sparkling saris, and animals that glinted in the sun. A place too exquisite to stay hidden forever, and soon the city's cast-offs would become one of India's national treasures, and it's all because of Nek Chand. And then at the back of the story, it shows pictures of the actual garden that he created and the things that he created in the garden, as well as a timeline. And now I have an informational book. These are always fun, from DK, timelines from Indian history. So if you have children who like history and like timelines, DK always has these timeline books that are really fun to look at. Okay, so next I'm moving in to the read alouds that I'm going to be reading with my children. And yeah, so let's just get into that. So, first of all, this is something I owned. It's Usborne's Tale of Brave and Brilliant Girls from Around the World. I used to have this in my morning basket, and then I decided that I'm just going to go through it as I enter different countries. So, this has stories from different countries from around the world. And so, I found a story that takes place in India, and that is the Warrior Queen. So, I'm going to be starting with that for our folklore and fairy tales portion of my morning basket. Then, after I'm done that one story in that book, I'm going to be reading Rudyard Kipling's Just So stories. Now, this is not particular to India. However, the fact that he grew up in India or spent a lot of time in India, I just decided to throw in these. And so these are short stories on things like how the whale got his throat, how the camel got his hump, how the rhinoceros got his skin, how the leopard got his spots, the elephant child. So basically, animal stories, how they got, just little stories about that. So I'm going to be reading this while we are studying India. So I'll be going through that book there. So this next one we have started, it's our first read aloud. It is Teresa of Calcutta by Janine Watson, Serving the Poorest of the Poor. This is definitely a Christian book. It reminds me of the Heroes Then and Now stories. So we have really been enjoying it. It is very well written. It's very interesting. We're on like chapter 4. So I've been enjoying this one a lot so far. And so that's our first read aloud that I'm reading to my kids. Here is one that came with our book shark. So this is Mother Teresa. It's a DK biography. So this would be the secular version, I will say, of what we are reading right now. So if you are a secular family and you just want facts about Mother Teresa, that could be a really good one to pick up. Then we do have a Christian Heroes Then and Now to read. So William Carey. And I will actually be doing this in the car as an audiobook because our library has this one. And whenever our library has an audiobook, I usually go for it. So we will be covering this in the car as soon as we come to a good time to add that in to what we do in our car. So this one, it says, William Carey watched from the dock as the magnificent ship headed for the English Channel without him. Tears filled his eyes and deep disappointment filled his heart. What would he tell the missionary society? So much work awaited him half a world away. He must get to India, and soon. William's amazing journey to India would prove to be just the beginning of a missionary quest filled with hardship and heartache, as well as tremendous victories. Often referred to as the father of modern missions, William Carey displayed a single-minded determination to set his face like a flint to the task of bringing the gospel to those lost in darkness. His life of service and sacrifice is a guidepost for Christians of all generations. This one is recommended for 4th through 6th grade as far as interest level. And then the last read aloud that I'm going to be doing is Daughter of the Mountains. So this says, Momo's dog has been stolen. To get him back, she must undertake the most dangerous journey of all. Momo has always wanted a Lhasa terrier, a dog like the ones the Buddhist priests hold sacred in their temples. And when a trader brings Pempe to her parents' tea house, Momo's dreams come true. Then it is shattered. A band of robbers steal the valuable dog and quickly escapes with him to the mountains. Momo is determined to catch them and recover her beloved Pempa. But to do that, she must follow the great trade route across the mountains, a path that most people avoid and which will surely put her life at risk. All right, so my kids will be very excited to have a book about a dog. And I did look up the reading level for this in case you wanted to use it as a reader. It is pretty high as far as Lexile reading, and it's a 1000L. I will put a Lexile chart below if you want to know what that means, but it is interest level of 3rd through 7th grade. Okay, so next is my pile of readers that I found as options for my kids to read. So found a lot of really great options. I have my boys who are in 5th and 6th grade. I'm having them do 2 of these. And then I'm having my 7th and 8th grader, they'll probably do 3 of these books each. And I have my notes here to let you know sort of the reading level. And I did try to organize them from the easier reading levels down to the higher level reading. So just so you know how I organize them. So I have, first one here is Omar Rising by Aisha Saeed, I believe. When Omar gets a scholarship to the prestigious Gilab Academy, it's a game changer. It will give him, the son of a servant, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a better future, and his whole village is cheering him on. Omar can't wait to dive into his classes, play soccer, and sign up for astronomy club. But those hopes are dashed when he learns first-year scholarship students can't just join clubs or teams. Instead, they must earn their keep by doing chores. Even worse, it turns out that the school deliberately weeds out scholarship kids by requiring them to get grades that are nearly impossible. While Omar is devastated to find such odds stacked against him, the injustice of it all motivates him to try to do something else that seems impossible: change a rigged system. All right, so there's that one there. And that one is, it says interest level 5th through 9th grade, reading level 5-4. So I would say a high interest, low reading level book. So if you have children who are more mature but need a lower reading level, that could be a good one for you. Next, by the same author, is Amal Unbound. So the first one was about a boy, and this one is about a girl. 12-year-old Amal's dream of becoming a teacher one day is dashed in an instant when she accidentally insults a member of her Pakistani village's ruling family. As punishment for her behavior, she is forced to leave her heartbroken family behind and go work at their estate. Amal is distraught, but has faced setbacks before. So she summons her courage and begins navigating the complex rules of life as a servant, with all its abundant jealousies and pecking order woes. Most troubling, though, is Amal's increasing awareness of the deadly measures the Khan family will go to in order to stay in control. It's clear that their hold over her village will never loosen as long as everyone is too afraid to challenge them. So if Amal is to have any chance of ensuring her loved one's safety and winning back her freedom, she must find a way to work with the other servants to make it happen. All right, so this one is, it didn't have an interest level, but this one's 600 Alexile level, so just slightly above the last one. I have The Bridge Home, and this one looks super interesting. My 8th grader, she's read this one before, but she chose to read it again. She just got it from the library before. This one doesn't have a summary on there, but basically I have read the summary several times. There are 2 kids that run away and they end up living under a bridge, and they find 2 other friends that they live under a bridge with. And one of the girls, I believe she gets sick, and they have to figure out how to help her. So basically street kids in India and sort of a story of their life. So it says here, readers will be captivated by this beautifully written novel about young people who must use their instincts and grit to survive. Padma shares with us an unflinching peek into the reality millions of homeless children live every day, but also infuses her story with hope and bravery that will inspire readers and stay with them long after turning the final page. So looks like a really good book. So this one is a Lexile of 680. And on the Lexile chart, it will tell you sort of what grade reading levels those are based on those numbers. I have Childhood of World Figures, Gandhi, Young Nation Builder. So the man we remember simply as Gandhi was born Mohandas Gandhi in India in 1869. From an early age, he was made keenly aware of the rigid Hindu caste system of his country and was heavily influenced by his mother's ability to fast as a way to control her urges. Mohandas was married at the age of 13 and continued his education, though he struggled as a student. He also struggled to find himself and keep his moral character intact. At college in London, and later at work in South Africa and India, Gandhi was appalled at the abject poverty he discovered and by the widespread denial of civil liberties and political rights he encountered. He ultimately dedicated his life to the struggle for fundamental human rights of all Indians. I do not have the Lexile level for this, but interest level from 3rd to 7th grade, and it doesn't look too difficult. My youngest, who's in 5th grade, he's going to be reading this, and I think he'll really enjoy it because he likes nonfiction, so that should be a good one for him. Next, I have Rickshaw Girl, and it says, Naima loves to create the traditional Alpani patterns of Bangladeshi women and girls paint in their homes for special celebrations. Her designs are always the best in the village, but Nami wishes she could help earn money for her family. Her friend Salim can drive his father's rickshaw. If only I had been born a boy, Nami thinks. All right, so this one looks like a pretty easy read as well. Not a lot of pages, pretty big print. It says reading level of 4.3, so like a grade 4.3, Lexile 730. I have Tiger Boy by Mitali Perkins. When a tiger cub escapes from a nature reserve near Neil's Island village, the rangers and villagers hurry to find the cub before her anxious mother follows suit and endangers them all. Mr. Gupta, a rich newcomer to the island, is also searching. He wants to sell the cub's body parts on the black market. Neil and his sister, Rupa, resolve to find the cub first and bring her back to the reserve where she belongs. The hunt for the cub interrupts Neil's preparations for an exam to win a prestigious scholarship at the boarding school far from home. Neil doesn't mind. He dreads the exam and would rather stay on his beloved island in the southern bands of West Bengal with his family and friends. But through his encounter with the cub, Neil learns that sometimes you have to take risks to preserve what you love, and sometimes you have to sacrifice the present for the chance to improve the future. So it has a few illustrations in here. And a lot of my kids are reading this. I think at least 2 of them I've chosen to read this, maybe 3. And so interest level 2nd through 5th grade and 770 on the Lexile. I have The Night Diary. On the eve of her 12th birthday, Nisha receives a journal, a place to record the thoughts that she can never seem to say aloud as she starts to see the world through older eyes. But it's not just Nisha who is changing. She doesn't even recognize her country anymore. It's 1947, and India, newly freed from British rule, is being divided into 2 countries, Pakistan and India. Many people are killed, crossing borders as tensions among Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, and others flare. Nisha doesn't know which side she's supposed to be on or why she has to choose. After losing her mother, who died giving birth, she can't imagine losing her homeland too. Mama was Muslim, but now she's gone. Papa is Hindu and says it's no longer safe for them to stay in Pakistan. So, Nisha and her family become refugees and embark on a dangerous journey by train and by foot to reach their new home on the other side of the border. Told through the letters Nisha writes to her mother in her journal, The Night Diary is a story of one of the most dramatic moments in history and one girl's search for home, her own identity, and a hopeful future. So that's kind of what it looks like in there. And this one is interest level 4th through 8th grade, and I don't have a Lexile for that one. A Moment Comes. These are dangerous times to let loyalties be suspected. While the rest of India anxiously awaits the upcoming partition that will divide the country into 2 sovereign nations, 18-year-old Tariq focuses on his own goal, to study at Oxford. He simply must find a way to get in, to fulfill his grandfather's dreams, and his own. But for a Muslim born and raised in India, there is no obvious path to England until Tariq is offered a job, translating for one of the British cartographers stationed in India and tasked with establishing the new borders. In a flash, he accepts the position, determined to use his new conquest as his way to Oxford. Marguerite, the cartographer's daughter, has only just arrived in India, but already she has discovered it to be hot and sticky and loud. It's dull, too, because she can't go anywhere alone for fear of riots and violence. So she is eager for a distraction and finds one in Tariq, who, of course, has his own reasons for inviting her attentions. But it's Anupreet, another member of the staff, who has truly captured Tariq's eyes. She's strikingly beautiful, marred only by the fresh scar that runs down her cheek, and the fact that she's Sikh, so not someone Tariq can even be caught looking at. Yet he's compelled to, until these emotions take a back seat as more serious and potentially fatal tensions arise. Against the backdrop of the nearly forgotten history of the partition of India, Jennifer Bradbury, as if with strands of silk, wends together the heart-pounding tale of 3 teenagers on wildly different paths on the verge of changing one another's lives forever. So there's that one. Interest level 7 through 9, so a bit higher, and 770, so not super high on the Lexile, so more of a higher level interest, a lower level reading book. I have A Beautiful Lie. India, 1947, so all the last ones are about in 1947. The country is coming apart, and so is Bilal's life. At home, Bilal's father is on his deathbed. In town, there are angry mobs and mounting tension as the days count down to a divided nation. All Bilal wants is for his father to die in peace, So with the help of his friends, he begins to build a lie that takes on a life of its own. All right, so words look like that. And interest level 7th through 12th grade, $7.90. And my last book here is Around the World in 80 Days. Once again, not specifically about India, but it does, some of it take place in India. And so it says, the eccentric Phyllis Fogg is risking his fortune in a race against time. With his servant, passport out, he sets out to circle the globe without a moment to spare for sightseeing, storms, or delays, for ambushes, rescues, or adventure. All right, so this one is the Usborne version. Just to remind you, I will link links to any of these books that I can find below. It does have some illustrations. Not a lot of illustrations. The funny thing is, I think at least 2 or 3 of my kids wanted to read this, even though I told them it was the hardest of all the books. So we'll see how that goes. I do also have a lot of these on our Scribd or EverAnd account, which means they have the audio version to listen to. So my kids really like that. And whenever I can, I also get things from the library as far as audiobooks. So I will link my EverAnd subscription below. If you would like to try it out, you could get a free, I think 60 days free. And you can see what they have on there. I've been really impressed with the number of audiobooks they have, and that is why I have it. Yeah, so I'll link that below along with any links to any of these books that I can find. So if you're interested in any of them, you could take a look further. So that covers what I have found for resources for while we're studying India and what I'm going to have like in my morning basket or just available for my kids or for them to pick as far as readers. Thank you so much for coming today, and I hope to see you all in future videos. Bye, everyone.